Just
Sure, go ahead. Yeah,
Amendments to the agenda, if there's a motion to remove.
but she's not removing it, is she? The bylaws? She's just,
I'm sorry.
no, she's
I
just trying to make a
misunderstood.
change.
I thought you were talking about the other issue.
No,
You would discuss that during the action item. Yeah, when we get to it. And then you, I misunderstood.
a redo.
This is the one that was in the executive session. It's the one that you all just looked at.
oh. Because the one that was on the,
Yes.
I mean,
we have at least one person who's off to the restroom. Two people then.
Okay. Thanks.
Oh, Candy's still gone, so we're waiting
Yeah,
on
she's
her.
washing. It's cold in here.
Hey, Bev, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear. Thank you.
Who do I talk to get some light up here?
you want it right now?
Yes, please, I can't see.
Oh,
So,
Where'd you get the water, Bart?
where'd you get the water? Well, will Marge want it? Yeah, I'll take water.
So the room we came out of.
Oh, that's where you get it. Oh, is that right? Okay. It's cash. It's two pop.
Recording in progress.
there we go. Okay, so I think everybody's here. I'm sorry, I apologize for our lateness, but we were having quite the discussion. So we will call the meeting to order at 2:10. Beth, would you read the roll call, please?
Yes, Kathy Batchelor,
Here.
Candy English,
Here.
Beth Dingman here, Nellie Johnson,
Here.
Bart Hilliard,
Here.
Steve Reynolds,
Here.
Dave Barker,
Here.
Marge Garneau, Bev Lawless,
Here.
Lanny Smith,
Here.
Jody Walker,
Here.
and Scott Summers.
Here.
Thank you. So we have a quorum. Item 2 is to either amend or adopt the agenda as stated.
I'd like to move to amend the agenda.
To what?
I'd like to move to delete item 8B from today's meeting and
Thank you.
move it to a discussion of the MOU as a topic for the work session in February.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor of that motion, please raise your hand. I see 5 hands. All opposed, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm only counting 5. Am I missing something? We should have 6.
Deb's,
Oh,
you're not
okay, I'm
voting?
sorry.
You abstain?
And abstaining. All those abstaining, Candy? That would be you? Thank you. So the motion fails, and so could I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Move approval of the agenda?
Second.
Nellie, okay. Nellie made the motion and Lanny Smith seconded. All in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm sorry, Bev is 8. We have 8 yeses. All those opposed? 2. We have 2 opposed. All those abstaining? I'm sorry, 8-2 to 1. And 1 abstention would be Candy English. Okay, so that passes, so we'll go on with the agenda. We have a presentation for the quarterly financial report. David?
Yes. I'm pulling up the presentation. It should show, there we go. Thank you for letting me present this afternoon. What I'll be presenting is our quarterly update, which will include the fourth quarter of 2025, which means that we'll be looking at the year in review. I'm going to focus mostly on the entire year. Got a little bit of delay in my presentation. What am I doing here? There it goes. Okay, I hope you can see this. I want to point to the word in red that says preliminary, and we are in the midst of our annual audit, which is going well so far, and these numbers are subject to change. I don't anticipate them changing much, but I just want to make you aware of that. So the first page here, and it's page 3 in your workbook, it reports that our annual income for the year is $12,516,674. That is 0.8% under budget, meaning our revenue was slightly under budget. It's $96,000 that we're under budget, but I'm going to quickly go through some line items. The top line item, which is the largest line item of our revenue, is member dues. And we came in right on budget with that, which is to be expected, and because of the nature of our dues, that every member is required to pay the dues. We have an easement. We write off very few dues. It's remarkable. We collect almost all of our dues. So we're within 0.2% of our budget. Now, the next 2 line items, which is the next line are fees, of which is dominated with transfer fees that relates to the transfer of properties. We see that we're 8% above budget at $787,766. And we'll go on to the next line of capital revenue, and you can see that we're 4.1% above budget on that line item with $2,835,806. I grouped those two together for a reason. Those are the variable revenue line items, meaning that depending on the market, we can come in ahead or under those line items, and we are thankful that we ended up, between those 2 line items, $170,000 better than budgeted. So that drove a lot of our financial success for the past year. On the recreation line item is the one significant line item that's under budget, and it's 21.7% under budget, and the FAC hears me say this almost every month. I'm not overly concerned about that, because what it is tours primarily and concerts got canceled, and the costs associated with those activities are lower as well. And you're going to see that on the future slides, so remember that. So I'm going to kind of move over that. Investment income, we're going to look at our benchmarks. It's good that we were ahead of budget. It's good that those are positive numbers. When we're going to, at the end of this presentation, talk about where we stand on our investment revenue. Communication, that's a small amount for cell towers that we lease. And then on other revenue, which was 34.5% under budget, that's primarily driven by underuses of members, try this again, members not using their credit cards, because there is a fee that goes with that, and we budgeted more than we experienced. And we've corrected that for next year's budget, but that's why that line item's under budget. So in total, we're $96,000 under budget on revenue. And for those who are more visual, the red line here is 100% of budget, meaning if you see the first bar is member dues, we were right at budget, 100%. And you can see that the fees, we're, again, thankful and glad that those fees came in above the 100% line. And capital revenue also came in above that 100% line. Those three categories make up 80% of our revenue. So when 80% of our revenue is at or above budget, we're glad. Now, the recreational revenue is significantly under budget. We're going to talk about that a little bit more, but like I said, I'm not overly concerned about. Glad to see the investment income's above budget. The leases on the cell towers are above budget, and the other revenue is under budget, and that's because of the credit card situation I mentioned. So I'm going to move on quickly to expenses. And I always I kind of go in reverse. But you can see the bottom line is that we were 3.3% under budget on our expenses, which is good. That is $339,000. And a lot of that comes in the top two lines. You see the facilities and equipment. That's utilities. Utilities is a big part of it. And that was under budget by 1%. Personnel, we actually were pretty significantly under budget on our wages, but our insurance was over budget. But net of all that, we came in out on those two big line items significantly under budget, which helped us. Now the program, that's the recreation revenue that I talked about earlier, that we were under budget on our revenue. Well, we're under budget on our expenses. So it's not a dollar for dollar pass through, but it's pretty close. In communications, we came in under budget for advertising and printing and phones. Our operations, or the supplies required to run this rather complex organization, we came in under budget. Thankful for that, by 1.5%. Corporate expenses were just a little over budget, and it had primarily to do with our insurance. So in total, we're $339,000, or 3.3% under budget on our expenses. And visually, if you look at the first two bars, the facilities and the personnel, those two line items, you want to see is at the red bar, which is 100% or lower, which is nice. And you can see that those two line items, which make up 75% of our budget, we were at or below budget. So I'm going to move on. So I'm not going to repeat the revenue and the expenses line sections, the top and the middle section, is a repeat of what I just gave you. Now we have a GVR surplus calculation, which determines how much we really came in after capital funding and designated funds funding. That this is a little different. Some of the people in FAC, Fiscal Affairs Committee, may be surprised that I'm now showing 148,000. I think it was 160 at the FAC meeting. And we had a couple bills come in. And we may have another one or two. It happens. So I'm glad to report out that we are looking at subject, you see the big preliminary word there, subject to the final audit. We're right now thinking we're going to have about $148,000 surplus reported out for 2025. And then I want to look at the statement of financial position, also known as the balance sheet. There's only one number I really want to show, and it's that very top one. It says operating cash. The first column is what we started at, 5.6 million. I'm sorry, I'm going backwards on you. The second column is where we started, 4.6 million, and we ended up the year at 5.6. So operating cash increased significantly. And what I was a little bit surprised and pleased to find out is that our dues collections, cash, that came in December was better than what it was the year before, almost $1 million. So people are paying their dues a little quicker. That's the only anomaly that is on our statement of financial position. And I'm going to quickly look at our investments. The top section shows our designated investments that total $11,035,000. So we have quite a bit of good investment and savings accounts. It might be the more practical term that you would refer to these. And they're in a range that we accepted, that we expected them to be. But I will point you to the return on the investment side. We always like to see that these are black positive numbers, instead of, lose. Some of our investments are in the equities or stock market. So what I want to report out is, and this is unusual, is that some of the benchmarks that we use, for example, the largest fund, the Maintenance, Repair, and Replacement Fund, we found a 9.0% return for the year 2025. But we have benchmarks because that's good, but is it good enough? Or are we really meeting our expectations? We were slightly under, which is really unusual. We've been, for the few years I've been here, we've been right at our benchmarks or better than our benchmarks. And I'll give you my simple kind of country boy explanation. The stock market has been driven, a third of the stock market has been driven by these IT companies, NVIDIA and others, call them the Magnificent Seven. So that has really driven the benchmarks up. Well, our investment committee, which takes a close look at this and advises our investment advisor, in conjunction with our investment advisor, we are not loaded up on those stocks. We take a more conservative and I think practical approach. So the fact that we're 1 percentage point less than the benchmark, I'm okay with that because I'd rather be safe with our money and maybe miss the benchmark by 1%. Other items on that section show that the bottom section that we ended up the year at 4.2 million in operating reserves, which is good, and those are actually at or above benchmark. So we're doing well with our investments. I'm reporting I'm pleased with the way the year ended up, and specifically with the way, remember the variable revenue items, which is our capital revenue, home sales, transfer fees. Those are numbers that can come in way under budget, but they didn't, and we're very thankful for that. So that's really all I have. I'll turn it back over to you, Kathy.
Thank you, David. Do any of the board members have any questions or comments? Nellie?
Thank you. As treasurer and head of FAC, I just want to congratulate Scott and his staff on the management of the operations. When you look at this financial report, particularly through the end of the year, the operational side came in under budget. And as David has already pointed out, you can't control the investments in home sales, so they went into our favor. So it was a very good year for us, and congratulations to the staff.
Thanks, Nellie. I'll thank you for them because they did a great job. Anybody else have any comments? Thank you, David, for the presentation. The president's report, the only thing I have to speak to is to thank everybody for attending the meeting today. We appreciate your attendance and hope you'll continue to come and attend our meetings. Thank you. CEO report, Scott?
Yeah, thank you. A couple items. We've tentatively scheduled a ribbon cutting for the West Center Metal Art Shop expansion for 10 o'clock on February 12th. There's some overlap, though, with our N&E committee, and so Nancy and I are working to reschedule the N&E by about 30 minutes to see if we can't do the ribbon cutting at 10 and then the entity meeting at 10:30. So please make note, but the ribbon cutting is exciting. I mean, we've been working on this project, the Metal Arts project, for about a year now. The members are very excited. They're moving in there. They've developed welcome signs to the GVR Metal Arts Club, which I think is great. It's in metal. So they're excited. We're excited. It's nice to see them get a permanent home other than containers that are sitting in the parking lot that have no HVAC. Progress is moving forward on the Desert Hills Kiln Room expansion. This is primarily floor expansion so that it can not only support the kilns themselves, but they're brick type, fire retardant type extension of that material. Also some electrical to make sure that all of those kilns are spaced properly per manufacturer recommendations, and there's some HVAC stuff in there as well. Most of that subfloor work was done when the Desert Hills locker room was completed. All those joists were shored up in that project. So that's one project. This is a new project. But that is going to get underway pretty soon. Lapidary expansion. This is a big one that has been moving forward. That's, of course, expanding across the courtyard here. Permits have been, well, we're hoping to get permits soon, but the 100% construction documents are complete. And we're anticipating starting to move out. They have to move out of that space, so we're getting some containers for them to be able to do that. But it'll be a big project, and we're excited about that getting going, probably February or March. We have to rebid still the West Center membership expansion project. That's expanding our box office and member services department out here. Last year bids came in higher than anticipated, so we're going to go out and rebid it for 26. I think we had a pretty successful meeting with the community last Friday on the Abrego South Pool project. The architect was there. We had about 120 plus neighbors there. We also met with the Water Volleyball Club. We've started going into some of the details of what it could look like if it were to move forward in order to get concept drawings. Once the architect has concept drawings, we'll be able to get a clear understanding about what the cost actually is. So that's the next step that the board will be asked at some point down the road, is to approve those concept drawings before anything can move forward. And then just a reminder, with any project, really up until the time the award of contract to actually build the facility, the board has the opportunity to go in a different direction or decide not to move forward. I think that's been clear, but I feel like I need to overemphasize that a little bit. We had told the people at that meeting that we would hope, if everything goes as we're scheduled, that the board would consider awarding a contract to rebuild the pool sometime in August. And if they do, if the board does, then we would hope that we could have a pool ready to go and another ribbon cutting by the first quarter of 2027. Okay? I think that's it on this for my projects. Any questions that I can answer for you?
Jody?
Yeah.
Sorry, Jody.
Besides the obvious of Brago South, do we have any current issues going with any pool or spa today?
Not that I know of, honestly. I think they're going pretty well. You just reminded me of something. We have awarded a contract for the demo of Abrego South. So that is going to start. We just awarded that contract this week. The demo came in around $50,000. We had budgeted, well, we didn't budget. Remember, we kind of moved that around. We anticipated at most about 100,000. So we were happy to see that they came in at about 50. All right, thank you.
Okay, anybody else have a question for Scott? Okay, then we'll move on with the committee reports. The audit committee, Bev?
Nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. Board Affairs, Candy?
Yes, thanks everyone for coming.
The Board Affairs Committee met on Tuesday, January 13th, to primarily discuss the wording of the bylaw rationales and the format of the 2026 ballot. We will be discussing these rationales later in this meeting. The Board Affairs Committee next meeting is going to be Tuesday, February 10th, and we ask all members to attend. So if you can, please come. Thanks.
Thank you, Candy. Fiscal Affairs, Nellie Johnson.
Thank you. We met last Tuesday, and we received the quarterly financial report, which I noted was very good. And we also entered into discussion and looking at some cost saving opportunities that staff had identified, and we're going to continue discussions. In February, we'll meet again, the third Tuesday of the month, and we'll be looking at our reserves, as well as also exploring how IT technology systems are funded.
Thank you. Investments, Lanny Smith.
Thank you, Kathy. We, the Investments Committee, met on January 21st, and David has provided you with our investment returns. As David mentioned, we were quite pleased. The equity markets were definitely in our favor this year. We have a briefing note that for discussion later on in this meeting regarding the investment policy statement for the MRRB pool fund, and we'll discuss that in greater detail. That was, by the way, our final meeting for this committee. A new committee will be struck after the next board election. And this committee want to thank David, because that was also his last investment committee meeting. And the committee wanted to thank David very much for his guidance over the last 8 years. It is truly appreciated. And we also wanted to make note of his integrity and professionalism as a significant committee member. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Lanny. Nominations and elections, Beth Dingman.
Yes, we had our last meeting on January 8th. We have a list of candidates for board positions. They include Marge Garneau, Dale Howard, Chris McCrummen, Christy McHugh, and Barry Stock. And there will be 2 forums, one on March 4th at 5 p.m. at Canoa Hills, the next one on March 11th at 5 p.m. on the West Center, where they will get to answer an array of questions. And then our next meeting will be held on February 12th. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Planning and evaluation. We have a note here, Steve, that the committee has completed its work for the year, so I'm assuming you don't need to report anymore today. So we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there any changes to the consent agenda?
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
And moved by Nellie Johnson, the second by Lanny Smith. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to the action items. The first item is to approve the Board Affairs Committee recommendation for the 2026 ballot and bylaw amendment rationales. Candy?
Thank you, Madam President. For background concerning the 7 bylaw amendments, I would like to remind the board that we as a board have approved these amendments on March 19th and September 24th, 2025. The purpose of this discussion is to approve the format of the 2026 ballot and the wording of each of the 7 rationales. The attorney staff and the Board Affairs Committee have already reviewed this ballot and rationales. Therefore, board approval is necessary to proceed with this ballot. I'll start by going over the ballot quickly and summarizing each of the 7 bylaws. And then I think Director Dingman had wanted to discuss changing the wording in question 2, section 2. So if you look at the ballot, and I think all of you, hopefully you have that, we changed the format in our committee, the Board Affairs Committee, to make it easier to read, and putting black lines around each section, and it did help because there was a lot of verbiage. So the first page of the GVR ballot talks about the candidates who are running that Director Dingman just talked about. And that is Marge Garneau, Dale Howard, Chris McCrummen, Christy McHugh, and Barry Stock. And of course, they're outlined. Then approval of the annual meeting minutes, that's number 2. And then number 3 is those 7 bylaw amendments that I was referring to. And again, there's a lot of verbiage there. So when the Board Affairs Committee came up with the rationale, we tried to simplify it in understandable language that even I could understand, so that I thought our members could understand. And so let me review quickly. Okay, question 1, Article 5, Section 1A is the terms of office, and the board had voted on the terms of office that if you were director, you run for 3 years. You can run for another 3 years, 2 consecutive terms, and then after that, you would have to not run again if you wanted to run after 3 years. So we voted to approve that, and I think the language reads pretty well. Regular turnover among directors encourages fresh perspectives and effective governance and creates opportunities to broaden the board's expertise and network of contacts. Question 2 is the nomination process. And I think we've changed the title of that to Board of Directors Candidate Selection Process. And for that, the rationale is this change updates the language to reflect the current practice of eligible members submitting their names to run for director positions through the election process rather than being nominated by the Nominations and Elections Committee. It used to be you'd have to turn your name in to the Nominations and Elections Committee, and then they would decide upon the candidates if they met the criteria. But now we're saying that anyone who wants to run for the board has to follow the election process.
May I offer an amendment to this, rewriting of question 2, section 2, which I've just passed out to you. I propose, first of all, that we call it Board of Directors Candidate Selection Process. And in A, the only change is the slate of applicants gets changed to the slate of candidates. And I didn't put in all the wording because it was confusing with underlines and bold and everything. So I just rewrote it as I thought it should finally read. And in the paper I've given you, I've underlined the changes that I made, that I'm proposing to make. In a question in B, following the candidate application deadline, and then I want to delete if there's any interest in running for the board of directors. I'm just deleting that. Goes on to say, any regular member of the corporation may file a nomination petition containing the name of any regular member who agrees to be a candidate, that's a change, and the signatures of at least 200 regular members in good standing. See the corporate policy manual for instructions on filing. The petition process shall be completed now I'm reading it. The petition process shall be completed not less than 60 days, and again, I wrote in the word 60 since we had written in the word before, of the numbers before. The annual meeting. The names of these candidates shall be added to the slate of candidates previously posted. So the changes are not that big, but I thought we needed the word candidates rather than applicants and nominees and stuff. I think we needed just one word. Okay, so that's my proposal to change the wording.
Scott?
I just wanted to say, staff and I are comfortable with these changes. I think the word candidate is clearer than nominee or applicant. And the title, I think if it's clearer and more understandable, then yeah, we should make it as easy for people to understand as possible.
Okay. Beth, I'm assuming that that is a motion that
Yes,
you are
a
making to
motion
make
to
these
replace-
changes?
I second.
And Jody Walker is a second. All those in favor of making these slight changes, please raise your hand. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And it's unanimous. Thank you, everybody. So Candy, do you want to continue on with the next item?
Yes, please. I'm going to be reviewing these bylaw changes again on both of the forums on March 4th and 11th, because we want to make sure all the members really understand what it is that they're voting on. Again, because I need that, I need clarification. For number 3, Article 7, check signing authority. The rationale is this change aligns check signing authority with generally accepted financial best practices and established internal controls, allowing for efficient operations while maintaining appropriate fiscal oversight by requiring the signature of 2 officers or 1 officer and the CEO in the amount of $10,000 or more. So that should be self-explanatory. So if there's a check that is $10,000 or more, 2 officers need to sign it, or the CEO and an officer need to sign that.
Candy?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Can I just say that I think we have reviewed the checks prior to its execution. I believe we have to delete the S on checks, or we have to make it prior to their execution. So those up above on the 4E.
Oh, you mean 4E? Okay,
Yeah,
all right. I was reviewing the rationale, but okay.
yeah, I know, but I'm just
Okay, so where was that again?
on the 4th line down, it says 2 department heads that reviewed the checks prior to its execution. I believe you have to say check prior to its execution, or you have to say checks prior to their execution.
What do you think, Nancy? Check.
Okay, whatever.
Okay, moving on to question 4. Okay, standing committees. The rationale, reducing the number of standing committees simplifies the committee structure, increases flexibility, and promotes efficiency. Consolidating committees allows the organizations to rely on task forces and ad hoc committees as needed. So we are reducing our committees, which basically is explained in the rationale, to make things more efficient. If we need to add another committee, we can add an ad hoc committee underneath those committees that we have, which will be Board Affairs Committee and the Finance Committee. Oh, and Investments, I'm sorry. Question 5, composition of committees. The rationale, committees provide policy advice directly to the board. Therefore, appointing committee members at the board level strengthens accountability and alignment with board oversight. This approach promotes a more balanced committee composition and supports consistent organization-wide governance practices. The change here is that instead of the president selecting the chairs and who's on the committee, that the whole board is going to approve who's going to be on the committees and chair those committees. Question number 5, subcommittees. This change clarifies and simplifies the bylaw language by removing the Nominations and Elections Committee from the exception. We okay? Everybody okay?
You're number 6.
That is number 6. Thank you. It seems like number 7. While preserving the audit committee exception, the revision is intended to reflect current committee structure and does not limit the ability to form subcommittees, ad hoc committees, or task committees as needed. Okay, so I kind of explained that, I think, earlier in limiting the committees. The last one, question 7, open meetings. Rationale, this change promotes increased transparency and open access for members by ensuring committee, subcommittee, and working session meetings are open to the membership. So you can Zoom in or attend any meeting. All the meetings here are open, which is a very good thing. Okay, that's my conclusion of reviewing them.
Okay. Are
Thank
there, are you making a motion to recommend these as amended?
We can make, let me see what the motion is. We can make a motion to approve the bylaws as discussed with the, I think, the amended version of number 2 that Director Dingman suggested.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm making a motion
Do
for
we,
that.
did we have a
I
second?
second. I
Jody-
second,
Jody
yeah.
is seconding that. Okay, is there any discussion among the board? Is there anybody in the audience that would like to comment on this item? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. And it looks unanimous.
Nellie.
Nellie, did you vote? I thought I saw your hand. Okay, so it is unanimous. Thank you. Okay, the next item would be the tentative approval MOU between the GVR and the GVR Foundation on a capital campaign. And we just had a large discussion on this, and as you can see, when we had an amendment to take it off of the agenda today, it failed, so it is still up for discussion. It's up for a motion and a second and a discussion. Nellie?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move the MOU as amended, with the exception of taking out on page 3, sentence 5, the issue to strike the GVR vendors and contractors as potential donors, stakeholders may receive direct solicitations or donations. So with that change, I would move the amended MOU as presented.
Okay,
And I'll second that.
and Steve Reynolds is the second.
Kathy, can
Yes.
I ask a quick question?
Well, it's open for discussion now, Bart, so go right ahead.
Right.
I would like
I submitted about a 10-page memo on this subject, the subject of the proposed MOU, and it was in the meeting book the last time I looked, pursuant to my request, because I requested that it be put in the meeting book. And in fact, that memo was the subject of a substantial part of the discussion that you just referenced, but I don't see it in the meeting book now. Am I missing it? Is it someplace that I'm not seeing it?
You know, I had forgotten that you had requested that it be added to the meeting book and thought we had inadvertently included it. So we removed it thinking it was our mistake. So we could certainly add it back. You've got it in your packet.
Yeah,
But he's talking about the online version, I think. Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, I don't see how GVR members are going to make much sense of our discussion of the MOU without that memo. And actually, there was a response to that memo from GVR Foundation, I believe, and
I think that kind of begs the question, does the board think it would be appropriate then to also include the response from the GVR Foundation?
Okay.
If that's the
You
case.
could call it supplemental material if you want.
Right. if that's the case and it's going to be added back in, then I would move to add the response by the GVR Foundation to Bart's comments, or however many pages it was put in the meeting book.
But I guess I'm not clear. Do the GVR members here today have access to either or both of those documents?
Online, no. Right. They were there, but remember, I thought we had inadvertently included them, and now I'm hearing maybe we should have included them. So we can put them back.
Okay.
It's a little, it's a little late to put them back if we're going to be discussing them at this meeting today.
Well, I agree. I will say, I think they were up until about an hour, 2 hours ago. For those of you that had an opportunity to look at it. Barry saw them.
Yeah.
So I think quite a few people did see them.
Yeah. Nellie?
I'd like to speak on my motion. As we remember, at our November meeting, we extended our ad hoc committee between GVR and the GVR Foundation to explore ways to work together, but particularly looking at the area of an endowment. And we also looked at the ability to look at ways that we could look at expanding the member assistance program. We committed to bringing back any type of an agreement in writing to this board, so it was very transparent and also educational as far as what the current practice is for both entities. This would be an endowment looking at a one-year campaign to expand our funding for the MAP program. The foundation currently has about $135,000 in the MAP program, and the endowment allows a way to look at another funding drive to increase the funding available in that endowment to help sustain the MAP program. Currently, the foundation has an annual bingo program that they are offering throughout the year, and also takes donations on an annual basis, raising about $25,000 that comes to us. GVR also can raise money. But we know there are pressures on our membership with regard to needing assistance for paying their dues, and having an annual donation plus an endowment, which allows us in long term to create a sustainable funding source, was something worthy that we wanted to explore. And so creating a one-time capital campaign to increase our endowment from $135,000 to $1 million. Those funds that would be only dedicated to the MAP program, not commingled to any other program. And what that means is that they're restricted for the donor intent of that program. So it was a way to look at meeting our members' needs for a longer-term sustainable part. But the other important thing is that the foundation puts considerable time and staff energy into the bingo program twice a month, and to whether that can be continued annually in the future, it is questionable. So we really appreciate what they have done with the bingo program, but to look at ways that we can expand the funding that we believe our members are going to need going into the future for member dues is something that this MAP or the MOU outlines. So with that, the attorney has provided some additional edits that to the MOU with regard to our roles and responsibilities. Currently, GVR and the GVR Foundation work together in promoting our bingo programs, the foundation's bingo program, and it's not like another not-for-profit 501c3. In essence, the foundation, in its IRS rulings, is required to fundraise for the MAP program. So we are, tied together in that way, and we're very pleased and happy with that relationship with the MAP funding that's available. So this MOU allows transparency to say this is what GVR will help do in the campaign. It's time limited, like any other campaigns that are done, as you may be familiar with foundations that do capital campaigns for for buildings and that. So it's time limited till we reach the $1 million, which we anticipate doing by the end of the year. That's the time limit for the ad hoc committee. The $1 million target was set by looking at our donor history in the past, and also our GVR membership. We had explored looking at 1.5 million, but in normal circumstances, you usually spin off about 5% of an endowment to give back on an annual basis. So that means if we raised $1 million and we sustained that $1 million, about 5% would be available, $50,000 on an annual basis, plus the amount that's raised each year through other efforts would in the long term better meet our needs for our GVR members. So with that, I believe that the MOU meets the needs by outlining the responsibilities and also meets the needs of our GVR members.
Thank you, Nellie. Beth?
What does it mean when you say it will come termination? It says duration and termination, disbursement of all funds. What does that mean if it's an endowment that goes on for a long time? What does disbursement mean?
Disbursement, which sentence are you on?
Page 5, it's the last page. Duration, it says H, duration and termination, and then there are reasons for termination. One of them is disbursement of all funds.
That if we had any dollar amounts tied to this particular MOU, which there are not, those funds would be sent back out to the entity. It is not that this MOU is terminated if there were any dollars tied to it. It's not, the endowment is separate and handled by the foundation as a separate entity. So those endowment funds are restricted.
So this isn't endowment funds, this is just other random funds.
Correct.
Okay. Bart?
Thanks, Kathy. As I set forth at some length in my memo, I have general objections to GVR entering into agreements with 501c3s, and I have specific objections to GVR entering into any agreement with GVR Foundation. First, a couple of points based on some earlier remarks. There was a reference to this MAP endowment as being our endowment. It's not our endowment, it's GVR Foundation's endowment. And GVR Foundation controls what happens to whatever funds are in their different kitties. Whatever a current board decides might happen in the future can be changed by any future board at any time. Second, there was an assertion that GVR Foundation is required to fundraise for MAP because of an IRS filing. That is incorrect. The possibility of raising funds for MAP was one of a pretty long list of things that GVR Foundation told the IRS that it might do. So it certainly is not required to do it. As to my general objections to entering into agreements with 501c3s, I think it's a classic slippery slope situation in which the question will arise, I feel pretty confident, that why is GVR Inc. not entering into agreements with other 501c3s, all of whom most of which, at least in Green Valley, of which I'm aware, are doing good things and would want the help that GVR Foundation is proposing in the way of particularly advertising and promotion of fundraising efforts. I don't really think that that's something that GVR management or the board would want to answer on a regular basis as to multiple 501c3s. It makes more sense just to keep all 501c3s as separate entities. 501c3s are charitable organizations. GVR Inc. is not. GVR Foundation has already displayed an impressive ability to fundraise. Since their founding about 11 and a half years ago, they've raised bunches of money. Right now, they're have in their coffers somewhere in the neighborhood of $600,000 or more, of which about 140, we're told, is dedicated to this MAP endowment fund. There is no reason to believe that I can see that GVR Foundation could not raise pretty much whatever it set its mind to, just as it has already, without any assistance from GVR Inc. There was an earlier agreement labeled a resource sharing agreement between GVR Foundation and GVR Incorporated, which was terminated by GVR Foundation in 2022. And as I pointed out in my memo, thereafter, even though the termination of the agreement also terminated the right of GVR Foundation to use the GVR logo, the use of that logo continued for well over a year, despite several requests from GVR management that it stop. GVR Foundation in its inception was pitched as a way to fundraise to help build a pickleball center. That pitch was made multiple times by the then GVR CEO, who also happened to be the secretary treasurer of GVR Foundation. Despite that, there is no mention of that fundraising effort in the form which created GVR Foundation as a 501c3, despite the fact that the form directed that people entering it, incidentally, that form was signed by the then GVR CEO as secretary treasurer of GVR Foundation. In fact, that fundraising effort to raise funds towards the pickleball center was not a genuine charitable endeavor, and the donations that were made to it, which GVR Foundation informed donors were tax deductible, were not in fact tax deductible. I mention this just to illustrate some of the history of GVR Foundation and its involvement with GVR. The termination of that earlier resource sharing agreement was really, I believe, a great day both for GVR Inc. and for GVR Foundation, in that it set forth a path for each of them independent of the other, which is, in my opinion, the way that it ought to be. I believe that the members of the GVR Foundation have, over the course of the last couple of years, come to a belief that there is a special relationship between GVR and GVR Foundation. There is not. There is absolutely no relationship, as of this moment, there is absolutely no relationship at all between the two, except that GVR Foundation usually elects, it has certainly for the last 6 or 7 years, to help contribute toward MAP.
The time limit is up. I think you heard the beep. So let's see if somebody else on the board has a comment. Beth?
Just to speak to that one point that you made about why all the other 501c3s shouldn't enter in with an agreement with us. I mean, their specific injunction, it seems to me, in this MOU is to raise funds for the MAP program. So it specifically goes to GVR members and is an advantage to GVR in general. as opposed to, say, Red Cross or, even Friends Indeed and stuff where it's not specifically affecting GVR members, although some members would be. So I don't think that argument carries a lot of weight. And the issues of the past are presumably the past. And this is a time-limited agreement, and it's also not legally binding. So I'm not sure how really, I just don't see any really great reasons not to do it because, again, it's not legally binding, and it has one specific job, and hopefully, and it'll be over when that's done. And so I don't foresee the problems that existed in the past existing in the next year or two with this agreement.
Thank you, Beth. Jody?
As I asked in the executive meeting, and still was not addressed, I'd like to have somebody expound to what level of responsibility of GVR as far as providing campaign volunteer leadership in items 1 through 5. Who is that? Is that staff? Is that this board? Who is going to be these people that is going to assist in this MOU?
Go ahead, Scott.
Want me to take that?
Yes, please.
Okay. Provide campaign volunteer leadership as authorized by the board. I think the authorization is the MOU. And throughout here, it does talk about the responsibilities of the ad hoc committee as well as the campaign steering subcommittee in the joint responsibilities above. That's my anticipation of how that applies. It applies to those two groups, and it happens through the GVR board authorizing the MOU.
So it would be the ad hoc steering committee, so whoever's on that ad hoc committee.
Right.
Okay. And additionally, I want to make it stated, I'm not against GVRF. I am, any of our assets should not be for, how do I want to say this, annotated for the GVRF over anything that GVR might need that facility first. So anything that GVR needs to use a facility needs to be number 1 in accordance with that list of anything. I'm primarily thinking this facility, West Center, would be used, but I don't think any concert, any of those dates that we have initially put out would be foregone before the GVRF uses a facility. It's just, I think our standard of use needs to come first and foremost on this.
Agreed, and I will say I don't expect a donation event that may occur. It might, but if so, then we would certainly schedule it appropriately and make sure that there was nothing else scheduled at that time.
I would just like to make the comment that I was hoping we could forego speaking to items many years in the past. I think the current GVR board and the current GVR Foundation board is wanting to work together for the benefit of our members that would need assistance from the MAP program. I think we all agree on that. GVR is not contributing money itself to this. And the foundation is doing our members a great service and doing and assisting in the fundraising to attain that. I'm truly sorry that anybody would bring up something that is way, way back, because I think we have evolved past that. Our attorney has reviewed it, he has edited it, and our agreement, I believe, with the foundation has not found anything to disagree with what our attorney has already edited. So I would like to see this board go forward with the intention of doing a fundraiser that the foundation has already specified would be for a MAP endowment. And I would just like to make comment, the bingo games that the foundation is running for us right now, all of those funds, less expenses, goes into the MAP program. And that being the case, there's no way for us to determine if they are going to have the amount of volunteers that they have right now to run those bingo games. So as other organizations have done bingo games and backed off because they didn't have the volunteers to support it every 2 weeks, there's always a possibility that they would have to terminate the bingo games, but would still try to do as much fundraising, hopefully with our assistance, for our members. Anybody else? Okay,
I want to
is
say
there-
real quick.
Okay.
Being the newest member on this board, I'm torn. I just don't know what to do. So with that said, when I am torn, I probably am going to vote no at this point because I just don't have enough to be such a 100% positivity. I support the bingo. I've come to the bingo. I see what they're doing. And might my mind change in 6 months and say, okay, I really messed up? Could be, but I just am torn.
Okay. So, Art?
One last note, there was an earlier reference to mentioning things that happened many years ago. One of the things that I mentioned, the use without any legal authority of the GVR logo, which persisted for more than a year after that license terminated, was from roughly May 2022 until sometime, I think, in October of 2023, if not later. And that is not many years ago. It's just 4 years ago, less than 4 years ago. The point that I'm trying to make repeatedly is that the history of GVR Foundation is such that I believe it would be unwise for GVR to enter into any new formal agreements with it. It's safer for GVR just to let GVR Foundation do its fundraising toward whatever goal it sets for the MAP endowment, rather than enter into any formal participation in which I believe GVR would essentially be making an assurance, either express or implied, to donors that the money is going to do any particular thing. And the truth is that any money raised by any 501c3, including GVR Foundation, is dispersed strictly according to the instructions of their board. GVR doesn't have anything to do with it. Thanks.
March?
The only problem that I have as a board member is there's a lot more information, and the attorney's comments, Bart's comments, and those have not been published anywhere that people can see them, and we're going to be making a decision based on some of those things and some of those answers from the attorney. So I do, and I know, Scott, he can't go back, and if you put it on now after the vote, it's kind of a moot point. But I would be more comfortable with this vote if I felt like the people had seen all of that information and knew what we were even talking about.
So let me ask a question, Scott. Oh, I'm sorry, but Bev. Bev, go ahead. Bev Lawless.
Well, I understand Marge's point, And Barb's concerned that this information is not here for the people that are at the meeting and that they can't look at it on the internet until later. We have all seen that information and we are the ones voting. So I think that's what's important here. We have all seen Bart's opinions. We have seen what the attorney has said, and that is what we are basing our vote and our decisions on. Thank you.
Scott?
Yeah, just a quick clarification point. The board could certainly make that legal opinion public if it wanted to, but you would have to vote in order to make that public. But right now, it is considered attorney-client privileged information that was only shared in closed session.
So I'm sorry, are you speaking to the edits that the attorney made to the MOU?
No, I'm talking about his point-by-point response to Director Hillier's concerns.
Okay. Beth?
Yeah, what Bev said, I agree. I mean, we are the elected representatives, and I feel like we have been given the information, and we've talked about it now for a while, so that I think most of us understand what it is we're voting on, and I'm not sure what putting it out into the general public is going to elucidate in terms of our own minds as the ones who are going to have to raise our hands or not for this motion.
I would have to agree with what you just said, Beth. Thank you. Is there any other discussion among the board members? Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this item? You can come up to the microphone and you'll please give us your name, your GVR number, and speak very closely into the microphone. Right, you have to.
Turn it on.
My name is Beverly Tobiasen. I believe that my GVR number is 0098005. It might be close. I am the current president of the GVR Foundation. And I would like to note, all of you know because you've heard you've read my responses, but for the audience, I have been with the board for 5 years, and since 2015, the foundation has donated just shy of $206,000 to the MAP program. We have an additional $30,000 that's committed. We'll be writing the check in a matter of days or weeks. GVR Foundation is committed to the MAP program. Our reputation is part of when people say you're with a foundation, oh, that's the MAP program. Although we do give donations to other organizations, the largest donations we give are to MAP. There have been times in our past that we have not brought in enough donations to pay for MAP. And so we have dug in our personal pockets and gone into operating funds in order to pay our commitment, our verbal commitment to the GVR, most vulnerable population. This is fundraising for an endowment. All of us are a little long in the tooth. And if you've ever run 6 hours of a bingo game, our future directors, we don't know if they're going to select to continue bingo or not. We hope they do. We think it's been a very successful fundraiser, but even bingo proceeds do not pay enough money for the annual needs. So we would continue doing bingo for the annual needs, get the foundation so years and generations after all of us are long and gone, we'll still be able to access GVR recreation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bev. Is there anybody else that would like to?
Okay, good afternoon, Board.
Carol, you're going to have to, yeah.
Okay, I just said good afternoon, Board. I'm glad I'm out here instead of up there. A couple comments.
Could you please give your name and GVR number first, please?
Sure, it's Carol Crothers, and I brought my card, so I know my number, 148-380. Okay, past board member and president of the board during some very difficult times with the foundation. But I have a couple questions, and I just got a chance to see the revised agenda and the red lines, so I'm a little behind speed. But my first question has to be, why an MOU? You know, I did a little research, and I went to the Nonprofit Advisory Board for Legal Matters, and they basically said an MOU is a legal document. It's binding. So why do we say MOU and then have our lawyer imply that it's not binding? That doesn't make any sense. Why not just put together the ad hoc plan going forward? Why call it an MOU? That was the first thing that jumped out. I want to point out that I strongly believe in MAP. It's a real shame that Natalie's not here, because she's probably the only person around that's had a lot of experience raising money for charity situations. And she had some very interesting comments about how hard it is to raise an endowment, and how GVR has been able to always step up to provide MAP money well before the foundation was in existence. Next point, let's remember, MAP is not for GVR. If it were, we'd be in serious trouble with the IRS. MAP is for people who are having trouble paying bills. One bill happens to be the GVR dues, which if they weren't mandatory, the IRS probably never would have given permission for the foundation to raise money for MAP. It's like a tax. So a foundation can give money to those poor people. I don't mean to be, those people that are struggling to make the payments. So let's don't mix this up. And my real problem with the MOU is it gets our GVR board back entangled with the foundation. And there are clear-cut differences between a charity and a recreational membership association. And I hope you will all take that into account.
Thank you,
So
Carol.
my recommendation is to vote no.
Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak to this item? Okay, we have a motion by Nellie Johnson and a second by Steve Reynolds to approve the MOU as amended with the, on page 5, that was the wrong one. That's the wrong one. Page 3. Page 3? You're right.
There it is. Striking out
Okay.
GVR vendors.
Okay. The motion would be to approve it with, on page 3, item 5, striking out GVR vendors and contractors as potential donors. Stakeholders may receive direct solicitation for donations. So that would be as amended with that item taken out. So with all of that, all those in favor, please raise your hand.
That wasn't part of.
That wasn't part of the motion.
I said I had initially concerns with that, but that wasn't part of the motion that Director Johnson had made.
Okay. For the motion, as just stated, all those in favor of approving the MOU, please, as amended, please raise your hand. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeses. All those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. And all those abstaining? Candy English is abstaining. So the motion passes. And we will move forward with that. Thank you, everybody. So the next item on the agenda is the approved a new dance club And I believe we're going to have Steve speak to that, or you?
Yeah, I think Steve's going to, if he can get his microphone working. There you go.
Thank you. 53 GVR members have come forward to.
I'm sorry, Steve, could you speak right into the microphone because I'm not hearing it?
53 GVR members have come forward to seek approval of the formation of a new dance club. It's a club whose dance activities will be distinct from the line dance or the square dance or the Saturday night dance club. Staff have reviewed the club application and recommend, and CEO has signed off on it, so we recommend approval of the formation of the club.
Beth?
I was wondering about alcohol at this event, whether people could bring their own, and if so, whether there were could be some issues with people getting exuberant dancing, or whether there would be any issues with regard to drinking alcohol. I don't know whether, it sounds like, a lot of, it sounds like it's a possibility that some things might get out of control.
Really?
And if so, how that would be handled.
Steve?
Well, the situation will be no different than any of the other club activities, socials or dances or what have you. And at all times when the activity was underway, the RSA would be at the center. And so if something needed to be reacted to, I'm sure it would happen right away.
Okay.
Any comments I'm sorry, March, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the request to grant club status to the GVR Steppin' Out Dance Club.
I second.
Okay, a motion by Marge Garneau and a second by Jody Walker to approve the application of the new dance club. All those, I'm sorry, is there any more discussion among the board? Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak? Would you like to step up to the microphone, please? And if you will give us your name and GVR number?
Sure. Carolyn Digby, 251830. And I am the president-elect of the new Stepping Out Dance Club, GVR Stepping Out Dance Club. And I also was previously a president of the Saturday Night Dance Club for 3 years. And first of all, I want to thank Steve Kindred and Kathy Edwards for being so proactive in getting this club reactivated. They've been very, very helpful in us getting this application put through. And we started out with 57 approved members. We now have 78 dance enthusiasts for our club. And they are very anxious to get back out on the dance floor and get things moving. And speaking to the alcohol issue, it's always been BYOB. And most serious dancers don't drink very much at all. And we've never had an issue with that, so I wouldn't be too concerned with that. But anyway, we would love to see you approve this. We encourage it. And also, we will be having our dances on the first and third Saturdays. The existing club has theirs on the second and fourth Saturdays. So this actually gives the GVR members every Saturday weekend a place to go dance, and there's lots of dancers in this community. So we're not going to be competing with them. They can go to one or the other or both dance clubs and really enjoy an evening. And we appreciate your consideration and really urge you to approve the club. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carolyn. Anybody else would like to speak to this item? Then we'll go ahead with the vote. All those in favor of approving the new dance club, raise your hand. And it's unanimous. So thank you, everybody. Okay, next item on the agenda is the Investment Committee recommendation regarding the MRNRB Pool Fund. And Lenny, you're going to lead that?
Yes, I will, and David is also available for questions and answers. The investment committee met last week with our investment advisors, And we are recommending to the board that we approve a temporary adjustment to the MMRB investment policy statement for 2026 only, moving the investment policy statement from 60% equity, 40% fixed income to a 35% equity, 65% cash position. The purpose behind this is that given the large cash needs that we may be facing for a pool replacement in 2026, and given our investment advisors' advice that they're expecting significant market volatility, that it would be wise for us to liquidate assets now to ensure that GVR has the funds available for that anticipated but not yet board-approved pool replacement. So really what we're trying to do is we're take the profits now, move into a solid cash position rather than trying to time the market when the funds are going to be needed later on this year. It's we believe at the investment committee that this is a wise position for GVR to take, so that we have the safety and security of knowing that should the funds be required, the funds will be available.
Okay. Are you going to make that into a motion, Lanny? Because
Yes,
if
I
you
am.
would like to, the board options recommended motion on page 76, if you don't mind.
Yes, ma'am. The recommended motion is to approve to temporarily adjust the MMRB's IPS for 2026 to 35% equity and 65% cash.
I second.
Okay. Motion by Lanny Smith, a second by Jody Walker. And is there any discussion among the board members? Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to the item? Okay, so I guess we'll take a vote on that. We just heard the motion by Lanny. So all those in favor, please raise your hand. And it looks like it's unanimous. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lanny.
Thank you.
Okay, last item on the agenda, I think. Can you look? Yeah. Last item on the agenda is the CPM discussion on board meeting and minutes. We've discussed this a couple of different times. And the, sort of, and the item is in your meeting book. I have no objection to the staff recommendations that are here on page 77 for us to go ahead with. And in fact, I would move that we approve these changes recommended by staff. I don't know, Scott, are we supposed to go through these one by one or all at once?
You know, I would recommend going one by one
One by
for a
one.
motion, because I think if you do it all at once, you may not have any of them approved. So
Okay.
I think people are going to have different opinions on each one of them.
Okay.
That'd be my recommendation.
Okay. Okay, so let's start on page 77 with item number 2.3.1.d, board meetings. Staff recommends to remove board on D to read types of meetings. Is there, this is all in one section, so the red line is on page 79. Is there?
That's not meeting date.
Okay. I would move to adopt the first item.
Madam Chair, can you specify?
Sure.
Which
Yeah, it's kinda
line you're
confusing.
on exactly?
Okay, I'm on page 77 of the board agenda. And the changes include, under background justification, the changes include, the first item is board meetings.
Yep.
And staff recommendation is to remove the board on D to read types of meetings, so just the term board would be removed? And I would move to approve that.
Okay.
Beth? You're seconding. Okay, so Kathy Batchelor made the motion to approve. Beth Dingman made the motion to second. Or is there any discussion on this item?
I'm lost. I'm sorry, I'm completely lost.
It's 79.
Right, here's 79, and this is saying
We're on page 77.
Yeah. So it just says
231B.
board meeting occurs, a meeting occurs.
So that's anytime board is written in number 4, change it to all meetings? Because it's mentioned more than one time.
I believe we're just taking out the word board, where it used to be board meetings. We would remove the word board. Isn't
That's
that correct,
correct.
Scott?
That is correct. Under D, types of meetings, it used to say types of board meetings.
Yeah.
And so we're clarifying, these are just meetings. Part of the confusion that we've had in the past is sometimes a board meeting is identified as when the board meets to take action.
Okay.
And in work sessions, et cetera, you're not taking action. So we wanted to clarify that this was just all meetings, right?
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve that. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And it looks unanimous. Thank you, everybody. The second item here, excuse me, 2.3.1.D.5, tentative calendar, and that would also be on page
79.
79.
So Madam Chair?
Yes.
So I'd like to move the amendment that states under Director Johnson's ideas, any changes to the regularly scheduled board calendar date shall be approved by the board. Any changes in the work session dates may change in consultation between the CEO and the president.
Okay. Is there a second?
What does the staff not agree with?
If you look at the red, right directly underneath that on page 79, staff does not agree with this because it needs to be flexible due to the nature of timelines, projects, and member concerns. Tentative is the key word.
So it doesn't agree that changes have to be approved by the board?
That's correct.
Okay.
It would follow the normal procedure of the board president and the CEO to set the calendar. The board does approve the tentative calendar. It just means that it's a fluid document, so that if we have a board meeting set up for 1 month and we do not need a board meeting because we have nothing on the agenda, then the board president and the CEO could just notify the board we have nothing on the agenda to have a meeting for. Nellie?
Okay, Madam Chair, our bylaws and the Roberts rules require that board set the board agenda and meeting schedule. And so if you want to kind of, you can change that by specified in the CPM. If you don't put the language in that basically says that the CEO and the board chair can finalize the board calendar, it's not addressed who can and when can it be changed, who has the authority to do it. And it's a fundamental role of the board to set their own meeting schedule. So if the desire is of this board to change that, then we should put the language in that basically says any changes in the schedule may be done in consultation with the CEO and the president. And normally, you would basically ask the board or send out an email, unanimous vote to change the schedule. The other way to do it would be at this meeting to say, I don't want to meet next month, and then you have the board vote on it. And that way, the board always retains this authority to set its meeting schedule. There may not be any action items, but there's also the importance of looking at the CEO report. We also may have member comments that may be coming in on a particular issue. So there are reasons that when we set the calendar to meet 10 times a year, if you remember when we set this in October, or when we set the original schedule, some people didn't want to meet only quarterly. And we're a $12 million entity, and that was insufficient. So what we did say, let's meet 10 times a year to confirm our business. And so if you don't want the board to retain that authority, then we should specify that the final schedule can be adjusted by the CEO and the president, if that is the desire of the board. Leaving it blank doesn't say anything of who can change the meeting schedule.
I thought we had that in a different section, though. Don't we have that in? You know, and.
Because we set the agenda.
Oh, I see. So it says the CEO and the president sets the agenda. Well, let me say this. We don't have a second on this motion yet. So does somebody want to second Nellie's motion? I mean, we're discussing something we don't have a second for. Okay, Steve. Okay, Bart?
Nothing, I was just going to check if there had been a second.
Oh, sorry, okay. Marge?
I think we're creating a problem where there is no problem. I served as 2 years as the president of the board, and with Scott's help and Nancy's help, I never had a problem. And if we're going to do something like this, you're going to hamstring the staff, and they're not going to be able to change things without coming through the board or getting a vote of the board. I think you're creating a problem where there isn't one. I never had a problem. And Nancy is really, really good at keeping track of what we're doing and how we're doing it. And she's always ready to answer our questions. And, you know, Scott's right on top of it, so.
I would like to ask a question. On page 80 of our meeting book, item E at the very top, underneath the red line, it says, meetings shall be conducted under the latest edition of Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised unless otherwise determined by the board. I would like to ask the board, how many people know what Robert's rules say to follow them at every meeting?
I don't, but I have it.
Well, I have it too, but I don't, you know, the only thing that I do know.
I use it as a shim under a table leg.
Well, there was a point way back when, and I can't remember how long ago it was. I think when I first came on the board, there was a discussion about having a parliamentarian at every board meeting, but at the same time, that costs too much money. If we don't know, if we cannot bring up at a board meeting that says, well, Robert's rule says you can't do that, then we shouldn't be doing it. We should just delete this item off of the CPM. And the committees do not need Robert's Rules of Order in order to function. And we're trying to be as flexible and reasonable, I think, based on what Marge just said. And I agree with her that we should be able to even delete this item and move on. Do what's right, because Scott and Nancy are keeping us aware of board meetings that need to be done, board meetings that don't need to be done. It's not something that we're in the office every day to be talking about, so. Steve?
I have a question. Do we have?
I'm sorry, I didn't see
No, that's
Jody.
okay.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Jody, you had me?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I have a question. Do we have an example of which this happened, and this is why we're actually trying to amend?
It happened in June of this year.
Do you remember what actually happened?
Well, the meeting was canceled. The board meeting was canceled.
The staff just canceled the meeting and the
Well, we
board.
didn't have any items for the agenda.
Oh, did the board,
Scott notified us that we had no items on the agenda.
okay.
So we were canceling the meeting. I mean, he and I discussed it because neither one of us had any items and nobody had brought anything forward.
No harm, no foul.
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay.
Jody?
Exactly what you stated, Kathy. E says, unless otherwise determined by the board. If we determine not to abide by this rule, we have that right and the option. Why not leave it fluid? We're a living document. We're living people. We've got things that come and go. We had a meeting, didn't need a meeting, made a decision. Okay, nothing was harmed.
I'm just saying nobody knows what it says on an ongoing basis. I mean, the revised is about that thick, but I know I don't know. Nellie?
Again, if you want to have that delegation to the CEO, then look at the last sentence on page 79 and insert in the CPM, any changes in the schedules any changes in the work session or board schedules may change in consultation between the CEO and the president. If that is the desire of the board, then you state it. Because if that's what we've been doing, just formalize it. You don't get into issues with regard to who has the responsibility to change it. No, that's why I said you would amend it to say, I said work session, but if the way that the conversation is going, if you want to retain the current policy, you would say work session and board session may be done in consultation between the CEO and the president.
Well, we just took out board, so why don't we just say meetings? Yeah.
Meetings may be adjusted by the CEO and the president. I mean, if that is how you want to codify what you're currently doing.
Okay, Marge?
Well, I have to say again, you're creating a problem where there is none. And if the staff is not comfortable with it, we shouldn't be doing something that the staff's not comfortable with. They're very competent, and I have never seen, any problem with it. I mean, just because we shut down one meeting because there was no agenda, that gives us reason to make us all stand on our heads so that staff can't change things and be more fluid. I just have a real problem with this, trying to lock everything down. There is no problem. And we don't need to lock it down any more than what it is. I think, that's my opinion.
Well, I would agree with you, Marge, and also I think when we discussed this, we brought up a lot of these things a couple of months ago. I think it was November, could have been October. One of the items was in Robert's Rules of Order, it says, for the minutes, you will only record the motion, that it was seconded, and the vote. And then there would be no bullet points or any additional information that would be a part of the minutes. And I think what we discussed at that point, at least my point was, we need to be flexible to be able to tell people what we discussed in the minutes as bullet points or specific points. We put that someplace. I can't remember where it is right now. But we did put that in because we need to have that flexibility to know what we discussed, even though Robert's Rule says, no, the only thing you put in is the motion, who made the motion, that it was seconded, and that you have a vote, and that's it. Scott?
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify. I think if there was a motion to amend the CPM to include the updated language that Director Johnson proposed, which would say, any changes in the work session and regular meeting dates may change in consultation between the CEO and the President. I think that's fine because that's been the past practice. That's the way we've done it. Nancy and I and previous presidents have always looked at what the document says, and it does say that these these board calendars are adopted as temporary, and so we have followed what that said. So I do tend to think this is somewhat of a solution in search of a problem. Nevertheless, I think if you want as a board to amend the CPM to include that so that it's crystal clear that the president and the CEO can work together to rearrange if necessary, I think that would be certainly better than not allowing us the ability to make those changes that we need to when we're working on the fly, or if we don't have items for a meeting, or if we have to have a meeting sooner, for example. We would still need to go back to the board generally to change that. And I think you might be hurting yourself, frankly, by decreasing that flexibility.
Beth?
The way I read her amendment, the way I read it is, I'm sorry, did I usurp Bev? I didn't. Were you calling on Bev or me?
I think Beth, and then Bev is next.
Okay, sorry. It says, any changes to the regular board shall be approved by the board, any changes to the work session. And so but we're talking about flexibility with the board meeting as well as a work session. So it seems like the change that she's, if we put that change in, then we're just locking in the board to having to be changed by a full vote of the board. Okay.
Is that not true?
Huh? That's how I read this.
I thought that's what it was saying.
Do
you want to speak to that?
Yeah, okay.
And then let's let Nellie respond to this if we could, and then we'll go to Bev.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any changes to the regularly scheduled board meeting date shall be approved by the board. Right. So it would either have to be changing the schedule coming here and modifying it going forward, or you send out unanimous email.
I thought I was hearing something different.
Well, I did suggest that if the board, the way the conversation was going with what Scott mentioned, to change, you can look at changing that last sentence only as an insert and saying any changes in the work session and board dates may change in consultation between the CEO and the president. That would basically codify what we're currently doing.
And you would strike out the sentence before that,
You
I
strike
think.
out the sentence before that. Madam Chair, oh, she's not here.
She's not, but
Okay,
Bev has a
Vice Chair.
question also.
The Vice
No,
Chair.
well, the Vice Chair.
I would like to propose a revised amendment, or however you want to say that, basically saying what Nellie just said. So number 2.3.1 D5 would say a tentative annual meeting schedule shall be approved by the board at its first regular meeting following the annual meeting. Any changes in meeting dates may change in consultation between the CEO and president. And that covers both board meetings, executive meetings, work sessions, anything. We just need to say meeting.
And that's your amendment to the motion.
That's my amendment to the motion.
And Lanny has seconded that.
Yes.
Absolutely. And Marge has a question.
Marge?
And then Bev has already.
I'll make it short. Scott?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that hamper how we're operating? I mean, it seems like that's putting more onto this.
I don't think the recommendation or the amendment does, because that has been our practice. So really, once the board adopts its tentative schedule, if there are a need to either schedule a meeting sooner or delay a meeting or cancel a meeting, we've generally been able to do that in the past by working together and then informing the board that this meeting's been canceled or we're trying to reschedule because we need to move it up. So I think that's been our practice, so we're supportive of the change because it really codifies our practice.
And I apologize, I missed the motion. Bev, could you restate what you just made a motion for?
Sure. I basically said the same, I took out the first sentence of Nellie's proposal and I just changed work session to meeting. So I will say a tentative annual meeting schedule shall be approved by the board at its first regular meeting following the annual meeting. Any changes in meeting dates may change in consultation between the CEO and the president. Keeping it simple. I'm
Deb,
eliminating the first sentence. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, who was the person that made the second, Candy? Oh, Lanny. Thank you, Lanny.
And just to clarify, which section specifically is that change occurring?
2.3.1 D5.
D5. There it is, got it. Tentative annual meeting schedule approved by, got it.
So we're just eliminating Nellie's suggested first sentence. And changing work session to meeting dates, the work session to meeting dates.
Okay. Is there any,
Yes.
yeah, it's current practice that Scott is doing now that, as Lanny says, it's codifying what he's currently doing. Is there any more discussion on? Well, we have two motions then. We still have Nellie's motion and.
It was an amendment to Nellie's motion.
It was an amendment to.
Mine was amended.
Vote on the amendment and then the main motion.
Okay, so we'll vote on the amendment that Bev just provided. So all those in favor, please raise your hand. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 yeses, and I guess Bart has left. So that's unanimous for those in attendance. Okay. Thank you, everybody. So next item, 2.3.1.f, staff recommends adding.
We have a technical Robert's
I'm
Rules of
sorry,
Order
I'm
issue
sorry.
here, that's all
I'm
right.
sorry.
What we
were going
have to do
go
now
the
is
other-
vote on, you have to do the same vote again, basically, which is the amended motion now. You voted on the amendment, which amends the main motion. Now you have to vote on the main motion, which has been amended.
That's right.
See, now that's why I wanted Robert's rules taken out, so we don't have to do this. This is the only thing we seem to argue about with Robert's rules. Okay, so we're going to vote on the amended motion.
That's correct. You got it.
Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And it's unanimous, so there's 10 of us here, so 10 yeses. Thank you, everybody.
From the audience.
Appreciate your patience.
Member comments.
Okay, so,
Kathy, here is becoming a relative term.
okay, so the next item is 2.3.1.f, which is on page
80.
I thought it was 82, I could be wrong.
So what it's.
Let's see.
Page 80.
Oh, maybe. Right, okay, page 80.
G, or F.
F, right, correct, F. So I think we didn't have to spend too much time on this, and we were pretty much in agreement last time we discussed it. The staff recommends adding or addition and replace removed to change to read if during the approval of the agenda, a majority of directors support removal or addition of any items, it will be changed.
So the change is the word changed?
Yeah, I
mean,
think that's, well,
what's-
actually, there's a couple of words. If you read on page 77, where it was written out with the red, it's the third bullet up from the bottom, and it shows staff recommends adding or addition and replace removed to change to read, if during the approval of the agenda, a majority of directors support removal or addition of any items, it will be changed.
That's what it said. That's what it says now.
Well, this wasn't a red line, unfortunately,
Yeah.
and it would have been a little easier if it was.
Yeah.
But that is, what you're seeing now is what's proposed.
Okay,
Okay, so I will move to make that change.
I'll second.
Jody will second it. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And it's unanimous. Okay. Item on page 77, 2.3.1.G.1, which is on page 80 as well, which is the consent agenda. And it states, staff recommends to strike out during the amend/approve agenda item on the agenda and adds before motion of the consent agenda. Scott?
Sure. I would like to just speak on that because it's very confusing. You have at the beginning of your meeting an amendment and approval process of the agenda, and that, to make an amendment, requires a second and a majority vote. I think for the ease of trying to make any types of changes at the same time, including the consent agenda was lumped into the amendment and approval process some time ago, the last time these policies were updated. I don't believe that that's a correct practice. Most that have participated in any type of meetings understands that a consent agenda item to remove a consent agenda item doesn't require a second or a vote by the board. In fact, we even say that on our agenda. Any member of the board may remove and place under action items that consent agenda item. So it's really not appropriate to include that consent piece up with the amendment and approval. They really should be separate, and that's what this language does.
I move that motion.
I second.
Okay. Moving that motion, Ellie Johnson, second is Jody Walker. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
I am so sorry.
And again, we're unanimous.
I know this is painful, but we're getting through.
Yes. Okay. Okay, that took care of that one, 77. So the next one would be
The JD1.
2.3.5.C, which would be on page 81, I believe.
I remove my objection to this section.
82, I'm sorry.
It's 2.3.2 B7.
Right, and Nellie removed her objection to this one, so that would leave it as is, would it not, Scott?
It would.
Did
Okay.
you, I'm sorry.
Do we need to vote on that, though?
I'm sorry,
No, it
President,
wasn't.
I didn't think so, okay.
President Batchelor, did you
What?
do 2.3.2 B7 at the end of page 77? The very last one.
I thought Scott included that in his description of what we were voting on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Did you not?
I think
I
so.
thought you did.
I thought it was all one.
It was all, yeah,
One
he was
discussion.
treating it all as one, Nancy?
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
B7.
Okay, next one, at 2.3.3.C, and Nellie removed her objection, so we're going to leave that item as is.
Yeah, it's
I'm sorry, Beth, I didn't hear what you said. Okay. The next item, 2.3.3.F, which is just down a couple. And Nellie was talking about supplementing meeting materials as part of the meeting section on the GVR website. You know, this is written, I'm having a problem understanding the way it's written, but staff is suggesting in red on page 82 as a revised agenda with an asterisk indicating the addition, deletions, or changes. And I believe that coincided with your idea, Nellie?
Yes, just a question of staff, or to Scott, that as a revised agenda item, so we would note that supplemental materials handed out at the meeting then would be listed as a revised agenda and then included in future.
And it would be inserted.
Inserted,
in
okay.
your hard packet as well as online.
And it says that on page 78 as well.
And that's
so-
generally our practice, but I am sure there are examples of where that hasn't happened.
Okay, so I move the staff recommendations on this section to read as a revised agenda with an asterisk indicating the additions, deletions, or changes.
I second.
Okay. Motion by Nellie Johnson, second by Jody Walker. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And it's unanimous. And the last one is 2.3.4.C, which is on page 82 as well. Staff recommends to add committee reports, before committee reports, the sentence, "Minutes from work sessions shall include highlights of discussions."
I'll move the staff recommendation.
Second.
All right.
Got this down. Okay. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Candy. Oh, okay. If there's no discussion, we'll... Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It's unanimous again. Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay. 77, 78, 79.
Good job.
Okay, I believe that is the end of the items on the agenda.
Adjourn.
No.
No, I'm sorry. Member
Member comments is next on the agenda. Is there anybody that would like to make comments to the board? Carol?
I don't think. Carol Crothers, and this will be quick. Again, I've only looked at this advised MOU, and it does look like you can cancel it immediately. So if you take this to heart, you can cancel it. What happens, and this is what's always worried me, there's a real difference between you folks and the directors of the foundation. You're all elected, and you all have a responsibility to GVR. The foundation directors are appointed. We've had good ones and we've had bad ones, just like we've had good ones and bad ones, directors on the board, but they're responsible to the electorate. The foundation directors aren't responsible to anybody. They're already worried about putting in so many hours to run bingo games. What if they all quit? Does the foundation fold? What happens to the money? I see nothing in here. If we stand up and urge our members to contribute to an endowment instead of just donating to MAP year after year when it's needed, I mean, I've always given more if GVR says they need more, but I'm me, and I'm probably different than a lot of people. What happens to that money? We're asking our members to donate. So what happens if the board folds, the foundation folds? Or what is probably even more prevalent, what happens if they get audited by the IRS and they find that some of their activities are really not legit and maybe you better close down? And so maybe just protect us, please. Find out how to keep that money safe if we spend all the effort to raise it. And I didn't read, but I urge you, please do not give out my name as a donor to internal MAP. I will be incredibly upset. And I'll just bet you there'll be a whole bunch of other GVR members that'll be upset. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members in the audience? I'll take a motion.
I motion, we adjourn.
I second. I was ready. Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. I believe